Thank you so much for sitting in the first two rows. Could you guys move up a little? You know how artists work off of energy? You know that? Sometimes? Okay, so if you move up, that'll put the energy here. All right, so I have a couple quick announcements, and then we will have our performance, and then if our guest this evening has the energy, he will do a short Q&A thereafter. So we'll see. So welcome everyone to the second event of the Swig program in Jewish Studies and Social Justice of the fall 2015 semester, where tonight we have the opportunity to experience Amnesia by Ariel Luckey. Founded in 2008, the USF Jewish Studies and Social Justice program is the first and only program in the history of the world that formally links Jewish studies and social justice. In addition to offering numerous courses related to this interdisciplinary field, our program offers a minor in JSSJ, as well as annual fall speaker series related to Jewish identities, of which this program is a part, an annual spring social justice lecture, an annual social justice Passover Seder, and this spring, a new annual event, a human rights lecture. In addition, we partner with all sorts of Bay Area-based organizations, Jewish community centers, churches, mosques, and we offer unique educational programs related to ways to end and transform ethnic and national conflicts, such as our USF Beyond Bridges summer program, which takes place in Israel and Palestine, which we're hoping to relaunch this summer. This fall, in addition to tonight's exciting event, we have two other JSSJ events. 2 weeks from tonight, on October 15th, also at 6:30, we're going to be showing a documentary called Little White Lie, which tells the story of Lacey Schwartz, who grew up in a typical upper-middle-class Ashkenazi Jewish household in Woodstock, New York, with loving parents, a strong sense of her Jewish identity, despite the open questions from those around her about how a white girl could have such dark skin. When her parents abruptly divorce in her teens, her gut starts to tell her something about a potential African-American heritage, which sends her on a fascinating journey through her multi-dimensional past. It's a pretty powerful film. Following the screening, we'll have a representative from B'chol Hashon, a local Jewish not-for-profit organization, which works towards societal, ethnic, cultural, and racial inclusiveness, a woman named Lindsay Newman, who identifies as a Jew of color herself, and she'll lead us in that. 2 weeks thereafter, on Thursday, October 29th, also at 6:30, there's another documentary. This one's called Saved by Language. It tells the story of this man, Morris Al-Bahari, a Sephardic Jew from Sarajevo, born 1930, who happened to speak Ladino, a dying language, and because of that, he ended up surviving World War II. That evening, we're going to be showing that film in 2 different languages. It'll be with English subtitles here, in the Xavier room next door. It'll be with Ladino subtitles. We've partnered with the Spanish Studies program and Salasa, Center for Latina Studies in the Americas, and we'll be showing it in 2 languages and then come back here with a filmmaker who will meet with us. Flyers about those events are on the back. Special thanks also for tonight's performance goes to the Department of Theology and Religious Studies, the Department of Performing Arts and Social Justice, and the Center for Latino Studies in the Americas, SALASA. Now let's begin tonight's program officially. Many of the most pressing issues of the 21st century are those human beings have been grappling with since the dawn of time. Ideas like right and wrong, justice, injustice, human responsibility. Tonight's speaker epitomizes the tension between these various ideas, someone who has insight into the ever-changing notion of social identities far beyond most of our own comprehensions. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Ariel Luckey, who will be performing Amnesia by himself this evening with a little help from his friend. Ariel is a nationally acclaimed poet, actor, playwright, whose performances dance in the crossroads of education, art, and activism, Born and raised in Oakland, California, Ariel was named a visionary by the Utne Reader for the innovation and quality of his first play, Freeland, which previously toured across the country at over 50 theaters and universities, and there's some materials and I believe the DVD and some other excellent things on the back table there regarding Freeland. He's been a featured artist at Berkeley Repertory Theater, the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in Higher Education, the New Yorkan Poets Cafe in New York, and Cafe Cantante in Havana, Cuba. He was the artist in residence at June Jordan's Poetry for the People at UC Berkeley, and released a collection of poetry and lyrics, Searching for White Folk Soul, which is currently in its 3rd printing. He's received countless awards. I'm not even going to go through the litany of them, so we can move on to the performance, but suffice it to say, he's won quite a few. He sees his creative work in the world as an extension of his most precious and important work as a father to his 2 sons. Please join me in welcoming Ariel.
Right now, as we are gathered here at the University of San Francisco, a young man is walking through the Arizona desert. He is someone's father and someone's son. He is thirsty. His eyes are dry and itch. Right now, it's still 95 degrees in the desert. He has been walking under the blazing sun all day. Doesn't have any water left. If he is lucky, his skin is burned. His lips cracked and bleeding. His feet are blistered and also bleeding. Every step takes its toll. The prickly pear tear at his ankles. The saguaro watch without concern. The air is so dry it sucks at his breath. His tongue is stiff and heavy in his mouth, and his legs feel like rubber. If he is lucky, he will still be walking when I finish this performance. When we stroll out into the beautiful evening, he will still be walking. When we lie down in our beds tonight, in the comfort of our own homes, and even if he makes it. If his heart doesn't stop from exhaustion, and his lungs and liver don't collapse in hyperthermia, if the extreme dehydration doesn't damage his brain, if he doesn't black out and take a final fall into the sand, even if he makes it to the pickup point at the motel in Welton, even if he finds a job and a floor to crash on, even if he survives the heat, he will still be in constant danger from ice. There's an old story that goes, in the beginning, God's presence was everywhere. In order to make room for the creation of the world, God contracted and resonated, "Let there be light." And 10 holy vessels came forth, each filled with primordial creative light. But the vessels were too fragile to contain such a divine light, and they shattered. And the holy shards of light were scattered like falling stars all over the world. The shards became embodied in all the elements of creation. where they remain, trapped in fragments, causing conflict and turmoil in our lives. According to Jewish tradition, when a person does a mitzvah, an act of righteous love, of spiritual integrity, they illuminate the divine light within themselves and in others, and they release one of the trapped shards of light. When enough shards have been released and put back together or remembered, the broken vessels will be restored. And tikkun olam, the healing of the world, will be complete. My name is Ariel Luckey, and I'm from Oakland, California. I grew up in the house I was born in, raised in the middle of a city colored by accumulated culture clash. In urban borderlands and Ohlone territory, the last stop on the Transcontinental Railroad, the birthplace of the Black Panthers, home of the hyphy movement and Occupy Oakland, a city of immigrants, where people speak 150 different languages, call home to every corner of the globe, a patchwork city of hustlers, artists, everyday people repping the town and rooting for the underdog. A land of oak logos, but not enough trees. New luxury condos, but not enough beds for the homeless. This is conflicted geography. I am a product of the public and the private schools, the Coliseum flea market and the foodie cafes, the blood-soaked streets, and the creeks of Redwood Park. I grew up in between the mansions of Piedmont and the projects, building bridges between cultures and trying to find my way. I've traveled the world without crossing city lines. Been to West African high life, Thai, British, Temple, Filipino barbecue dance, all dive bar, b-boy battles, Dia de los Muertos. Ethiopian weddings, pagan Earth Day rituals, Chinatown parades, jazz clubs, Baptist churches, Cuban bebés, capoeira, holy yoga, asana, acupuncture, needles, Ramadan, breakfast, Nauru street, freestyle ciphers, and indigenous sunrise ceremonies. I've been welcomed as a guest into so many different cultural spaces. But at the end of the day, that's what I am, a guest. And I've never really found a space that feels like my own, except sometimes in the music. You know that feeling when you hear a song for the first time and it feels like you've heard it before? The melody feels familiar, as in family. Growing up, that was always the highlight of going to synagogue. I was usually hella bored. The pace was slow, the room stuffy, lots of grown-ups talking, blah, 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 blah. But when the music got going, there was this quality, it's hard to describe. Happy sadness, or a melancholy joy. Something in that music touched me. I would sing, usually in one of the very back rows, nodding my head, imagining a slapping hip-hop beat underneath the rise and fall of the melody. Feeling both empty and filled at the same time. I dreamed of making Jewish hip-hop music, combining the rhythm of my city with the songs of my ancestors. I'm flying with my family to Phoenix for the weekend. From the sky, the desert looks empty. Mile after mile of rock and dirt, textured layers of reds, oranges, and browns. An occasional highway snakes across the valley, but mostly it's open land. And it looks hot. Out of nowhere, the city appears. Huge tracts of suburban housing cut the land in repetitive, symmetrical patterns. As we approach downtown, the sunlight reflects white off the skyscrapers and countless cars. This is a city of parking lots and palm trees, where my cousin has chosen to get married. At the airport, we pick up a rental car and head over to the hotel, a massive beige building with Spanish arches and Southwest decor. The ceremony is outside, on a landscape patio, overlooking a fake lake and and a dozen palm trees. It's a late September afternoon, and the weather is perfect. A fountain in the fake lake provides the constant sound of falling water, and in the distance I can see the silver spray of sprinklers across the rolling green hills of a golf course. Some desert, huh? This is the largest family gathering of the Kibble clan in years. I haven't seen most of these folks since the slew of bar and bat mitzvahs about a decade ago. Growing up, we came to Arizona almost every year to visit my father's extended family, but it's been a while. The rabbi signals the start of the ceremony, and we all find our seats. He leads the bride and groom through the vows, the rings, the 7 blessings, the cups of wine. My cousin and her fiance's love is obvious and wonderful to celebrate. But the religious parts feel kind of dry, formal and scripted. I mumble through the Hebrew, and when prompted, stand and sit and stand and sit. It's like the wedding is a fancy American cake with a little Jewish icing. At the end, my cousin's new husband breaks the glass and everyone yells, Mazel Tov! After the ceremony, everyone rushes over to the open bar. The main attraction is a large ice sculpture the bartenders use to mix martinis. They pour the ingredients together on the top of this long horizontal slide made out of ice. You hold your glass at the bottom to catch the iced martini. Now, I'm not a big drinker, but I had to try it, right? A fancy glass, little olive. I look around for something to clear my palate and see servers carrying silver platters of hors d'oeuvres filtering through the crowd. Yo, they got the little goat cheese and bell pepper cracker thingies. I'm like, hello. The man with the tray is dressed in caterer black and looks Latino. His eyes drop to the floor as he extends the platter. I grab a cracker and a napkin and mumble thanks. Just as I go to walk past him to get another drink, he turns and offers the platter to someone else, and my arm bumps it. The tray clatters to the floor. And then everyone goes back to their conversations or whatever. Now, there's food all over. The waiter drops to his knees and starts cleaning up. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I bend over and try to help him. So we're scooping up crumbled cracker, goat cheese. It's just a mess. Out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy in a fancy suit walking straight towards us. He has that I'm in charge kind of vibe and looks pissed. He stands over the server and under his breath says, Carlos, this is it. Next time you're fired. I stand up and say, no, it was my fault. I bumped into him. A white smile flashes across the man's face, but doesn't reach his eyes. Sir, I apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused you. Have you seen our martini ice sculpture? Let me get you a drink. He takes me by the arm and leads me back towards the bar. I look over my shoulder and see Carlos still kneeling, picking crackers off the floor. And for a split second, our eyes meet. Back at the bar, I order a white Russian and walk out towards the fake lake. The sun is setting over the desert and the sky is the color of copper. I don't feel like schmoozing with my cousins or dancing to the cheesy DJ. We're all supposed to be happy and together, but I'm not feeling it. Everything looks so good on the surface. We're all dressed up and smiling and acting cool, but there's something about this whole thing. Something's missing. All of a sudden I feel a chill and a presence. The Ruach, the Spirit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying my great-great-granddaughter doesn't look lovely, because she does. And it is nice to see the family all together, but when I was a boy and a match was made, the Klezmer would dance and play, and everyone would dance until dawn. Hello? Ich bin dein Ursehner. Your father met me once, very briefly, when he was just a boy. I've lived here in Phoenix for many years. I've been gone a long time until you called me back. I called you back? Okay. I guess I don't know what to say. Bah! You don't even know what you don't know. Let me ask you a question. I am your great-great-grandfather on your father's side. What is my name? I don't remember. And what else has been forgotten? And do you know where I was born? How I came to live in this desert valley? Do you know where we come from? A pack of coyotes howl off in the desert, and every hair on my neck stands straight up. And then he's gone. It's over. His absence is as clear as his presence was. I listen to the sound of the fountain falling in the fake lake. The DJ is playing the Macarena. The first star has pierced the twilight. Where did my family come from? I really don't know. Eastern Europe somewhere? Eastern Europe somewhere? Where did we come from? Such a simple question. It should be a simple answer, right? I remember my father saying it was my great-great-grandfather who came over to the States, but I don't know anything about the world he left behind. Besides the fact that it was whack for Jews. Like poverty, pogroms, and hell of cold. I mean, seeing the filler on the roof. But beyond that, I really don't know. Where did my family come from? And how did we get to Arizona? My family, immigrants in Arizona, almost 100 years ago. I peer into the past, but all I can see is a white mist. I stare until my eyes hurt, my hands clenched. The only way forward is to go back. Research itself is a pilgrimage, combining the latest tools of 21st century technology with the ancient rituals of asking questions, prayer, and intuition. Maybe I will find what I seek. Maybe I will learn to live with the unanswered. Within the white mist, shapes emerge slowly and with effort. Shards of bone, a birth date, a place on the map, a last name. A skeleton of knowledge, shaky and incomplete. Everything transformed by time. So much has already been lost. Bleached. The questions hover in ceiling corners, whispering my name. I lie awake at night trying to remember stories I've never heard. Where do my people come from? I need to find out. My hands are clenched into a tight fist. I'm staring hard, but I can't see beyond the white mist. Lost inside this identity crisis. Inherited assimilation, family sacrifices. I struggle to survive this cycle of violence, defiance of the history of tyrants. America, the Jewish immigrants arrived with a deep tradition held inside us, but the cultural vibrance and Yiddish collided with a genocidal system of American whiteness. My life is a collage of compromises, a journey to find who my tribe is, and while I'm grateful I'm alive with the words to write this, what we lost was priceless. I search for song within the silence, hear the whispers of clarinets and violins. My ancestors' guidance, memory, history, poetic license. Come. It's time you remember. I started my day like every other. This is my home. Well, it was my home. I'm leaving. I'm going to Kiev, the largest city in the Pale. My cousin, Shlomo, is a student in the gymnasium there, and he says that the Jew, God willing, can make enough to put money under the table. The tailor, Mendel, says something about needing the special residency papers to live there. What does he know? Does he live in Kiev? No. He lives right here, where there are no jobs, no food, and between you and me, no nice-looking young ladies. Don't get me wrong. This was a decent place to grow up, despite the cold and the hunger and the occasional problem with the goyim. Us boys used to swim in the Dnieper River all summer and run through the open fields. We made a life out of what God gave us. But then everything changed. It was the heart of winter, right before my bar mitzvah. The tree branches hung heavy with fingers of ice. I was sitting in the cheder studying when the butcher Ephraim came running with the news. The Tsar has just been assassinated. You can imagine the uproar, the racket, everyone with questions, stories, something to say. For my fellow students and I, it was at the time maybe not such bad news. We were dismissed from school for the day and got to run around the woods in the snow looking for firewood. But 4 months later, I woke up to the sound of screaming. The boys were going crazy, burning everything, beating people. It was chaos. My family fled to my uncle's house in Gilead and stayed there 3 days until it settled down. Then we came home. We found half our house burned to the ground. At least my father's palace and the villain have survived. And we were the lucky ones. I will not burden you with the names of the dead. But what are you going to do? When they weren't killing us, it was a good life. When I was 10 years old, my parents asked me if I wanted to have a bar mitzvah. Guided by a combination of hippie, child-centered parenting techniques, and a leftist critique of religious dogma, they wanted to empower me to decide for myself how I participated in Judaism. I had no idea what they were talking about. Being the oldest kid in my family, who with no cousins or close friends who had already gone through the process, I didn't understand what a bar mitzvah was or why I would want to have one. So it basically came down to this. Would you rather spend the next 3 years taking an extra class after school and on the weekends to do all the studying and hard work in preparation for a big public presentation in the kind of synagogue service that you already find incredibly boring? Or go play outside with your friends? Tough choice for a 10-year-old, right? It wasn't until I was 13 and went to Arizona for my cousin's bar mitzvah that I began to understand what I had opted out of. I never learned to read Hebrew or how to say the basic prayers. And now I kind of feel like an outsider every time I go to synagogue, never quite at home. A year after my cousin's wedding, I went back to Arizona with my father, but this time to look for some answers, to talk with my great-grandfather, talk with my family about my great-great-grandfather. After he asked me and I didn't remember, I looked up his name on the family tree. Hyman Kavelovich. Apparently, when he came over to the States, he dropped the Levich, so the family name became Kibble. I wonder if the customs official changed his name or if Hyman chose to do it himself. Back in Arizona, my father and I drive a rental car up to my great-aunt and uncle's house. We stop at the gate and greet the guard, who makes sure our names are on the list. Then we drive into the gated community. The streets are windy and have Spanish names. We park next to a giant saguaro cactus, then walk up the driveway, around the swimming pool, past the sweeping view of the city, and into my great-aunt and uncle's house. They were both born and raised in Arizona, second-generation Americans. After a warm welcome and delicious meal of tamales and tortilla soup, we all sit down to share stories and look at old family photos. My great-aunt has a kind face and observant eyes. She tells me that Hyman almost always spoke Yiddish. He could speak English, but not read or write it. And he kept kosher. He brought his own set of plates everywhere. He was observant until the day he died. I also learned Hyman grew up in a small village, somewhere in the Pale settlement, the only part of Russia where Jews were allowed to live. But nobody knows where that village was or what's there now. It's like on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, my family history just drops off into oblivion, fades into a white mist. I gotta find that village.
Jewish population almost doubles in Kiev. St. Petersburg Press.
Dirty Yibs take over our city. The Kievian.
Illegal Jews caught in police hunt. The Bessarabets paper.
Coming home late all night from the tailor shop, I hear the sound of a dog barking footsteps. Near lobby, a police hunt. My apartment is only a few blocks away, so I start running. A ladder, a flea climb into a small space, a panel sliding shut, the sound of my heart hammering in my chest. The police pound on the door and then barge into the house, demanding to see everyone and their residency papers. They line the family up, one by one, asking them where they work, where they go to school. Is anyone else in the house? I am paralyzed, barely breathing for fear I will make a sound. Finally, after what feels like eternity, I hear the door slam, and there is quiet. I spend the night in the attic, too terrified to leave, too terrified to sleep. If they had caught me, I would have spent the night in jail and been deported from Kiev by noon the next day. I've had enough. This is not living. I can't keep my job or go to school. There is no future for us here. I've heard there's a way to get out, through hunger. And my brother Jacob went last year and writes that he is well. and working, making good money. I'm going. I'm going to America. I found the village. It's in some country called Belarus. I guess back in the day it was Russia. I was going through some family trees and found a name scrawled on one of the kibble pages, written in blue ink. Lubcha, Lupcha, I guess, depending on the language. I checked it out on Google Maps and got nothing. Then I searched on JewishGenealogy.com, and that's where I found a connection. Some guy on the East Coast put his whole family tree up there, and it links back to the Kabeleviches in Lubcha. His great-grandmother was Hyman's sister. Boom! Kabeleviches in Lubcha! It's where my family is from, where Hyman grew up. I gotta go there, yo! No one in my family's been back since Hyman left in 1889. That was like 125 years ago. This feels right. I'm going. I'm going to Belarus. toddlers to see. Day after day, minutes and hours, they slip through my fingers like lost grains of sand. Just ironing, on without tiring. I am a machine now, no longer a man. The clock on the ball calls another day over. I crawl to my tenement, hungry and weak. A room with 10 others, all filthy and smothered. The dry crust of bread is all I have to eat. I sleep on the floor as the rats and the rodents. But only till dawn that I'm back on my feet. Back to the iron. There is no escaping. Another day's aching. Another day's heat. I'm coughing and wheezing. The smoke's hard on breathing. The cold is burning hot blackens my lungs. It heats up the iron that presses the garment. My breath comes heavy. I'm no longer young. I work and I work and I work, always feeding. My testicles are squeezing, can't get in the bed. My heart pounds like thunder. I start to slip under. The world fades to black and I'm lost in despair. We left New York the next month. I just couldn't breathe there. I had met a young woman from Minsk with a sparkle in her eye. Fanny Cohen. She worked in a clock factory with my sister's husband. He arranged for us to meet, and 3 weeks later, we were married. We took a train all the way across the city, all the way across the country to a dusty little city called Los Angeles. We lived in a single room. I used all of my savings to lease a small second-hand clothing shop on Temple Street. That's where my first son, Simon, was born. Business was decent, and I started saving everything I could. This was my chance to make it in the Golden Medina, in the Golden Land. I'm in my office, late night, trying to get ready for my trip to Belarus. I'm doing research online and come across a website called the Yizkor Book Project. It's a group of people working to document and preserve the stories of old shtetls. And there's a book about Lubcha, a collection of essays written by Jews who grew up there around the turn of the century, full of stories about life in Lubcha, a window into that world. I'm checking out the table of contents, and one of the chapters is called Martyrs of Lubcha. I click on the link. It's a list of Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust, in alphabetical order. A for Aronofsky, B for Berezhinsky. I keep scrolling down. G for Goldberg, H for Halberstein, and then I get to the K's. Kagan, Kalmanovich, Kaplansky, and then Velovich. I stare at the screen. This is my family. These are Hyman's relatives. Baruch, Batya, and their 3 children. Isar, Nekama, and their daughter. Leib, Sarah, and their 3 children. My heart is pounding in my chest. I feel like someone is watching. I stare at the screen. My family came over to the States way earlier, so it was this thing that happened to other people. Of course, it's terrible. It's horrendous. But it wasn't my family. Until now. I write their names down. All 38 of them. I want to pray for them, but I don't know what to say. I want to pray in a way that honors who they are and what happened to them, but I don't know how. It feels like it should be something Jewish, but the only Jewish prayer I can remember is the blessing for the wine. After years of settling, peddling, second-hand clothes, I finally saved up enough to buy some land. A friend of mine told me there was a Mexican family who needed to sell their lot at 7th and Grand. Downtown was expanding, and I figured it would only be a matter of time before that lot would be worth something. So I went over there to see if we could do some business. There was an old faded adobe house set back from the street with chickens running around the front yard. A clothesline full of laundry ran across one side, and the other had a large tree full of ornaments. And the old man didn't speak English, so his teenage son translated between my Yiddish and broken English and his Spanish. God only knows how we understood each other. The man needed money fast. He had lost some land and had debts to pay. He was willing to lower the price if I could pay in cash. We settled on a number and shook hands. For me, it was a great deal. I had the house torn down and constructed a large building that I leased to the Robinsons department store. It was very popular. That was the beginning of doing real business. LA got bigger and bigger, and I got the family involved in real estate. And no more second-hand clothes for me. I always was a lousy tailor. But I had a knack for business. But what happened to the Mexican family? What happened to the Mexican family? I'm sitting on a plane at JFK. I can't believe this is actually happening. My brother Ryan and I are going to Belarus. It's going to be a long flight, so I get my notes out. I have plenty of time to study and dive in. Yitkadal, Yitkadal, Yitkash, Shema, The mourner's cottage, a Jewish prayer for the dead, traditionally said every day, at every Sabbath, every major holiday, and most importantly, while mourning the death of a loved one. The funny thing is, though, it doesn't actually say anything about death. It's an affirmation of life and God and all of God's glory. It goes, blessed and praised, glorified and exalted, extolled and honored, adored and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed be God. It's way easier in English, believe me. But I need to learn the old school prayer. When I'm standing there in Lucia at the place where my ancestors are buried, I want to be able to say the prayer the way they did, in their language. It's really hard to remember. We fly out over the Atlantic. I think of Hyman, how he made this voyage in reverse, by boat. What for us is going to be an easy 12-hour plane ride took at least 6 weeks for him. Can you imagine being on a boat that long? Down in the crowded bunks in 3rd class with no idea where you're going. Eating boiled potatoes and watery cabbage soup day after day after day. Surrounded by strangers. I brought all my notes along. A few family trees and other documents, anything I might need to reference when I'm writing on the trip. I found a copy of Hyman's citizenship application. It has a section for the description of applicant. Forehead, high, narrow. Eyes, dark brown. Mouth, medium, full lips. Nose, straight, narrow. Hair, black. Complexion, medium, dark. Medium, dark complexion. I was only able to find a few photos of Hyman, but my favorite is of him and Fanny in New York. It must have been taken right after they met because they both look really young. Hyman's seated, Fanny's standing next to him with a hand on his shoulder. She's beautiful and looks fierce. I asked my grandfather's first cousin about Fanny, and this is what he said. He didn't say anything about Fanny. We know like nothing about Fanny. She came over to the States, married Hyman, raised 4 kids. It's so much harder to find out about the women. There's less of a paper trail. I know Fanny spent the rest of her life in LA, and Hyman somehow ended up in Phoenix. And I was surprised to learn they separated after being together for 30 years. Apparently, they were both strong-willed. They fought constantly, and eventually Fanny locked Hyman out of her bedroom. After the break, Hyman got more and more isolated.
Okay! That's enough! This is private. None of their business. Let me tell them how I got to Phoenix. It was my asthma. One moment I am sitting in my office, the next I am on the floor and I can't breathe. The air in LA was better than New York, but still not good. I needed drier air, desert air. The children were all grown and provided for. LA had been good for me. I had done well, but it was time to retire. I took a train all the way to Phoenix, and then what happened? What happened to your family? Your sons followed in your footsteps, became successful businessmen, but they stopped speaking Yiddish, stopped keeping kosher, observing the Sabbath. That can't be what you wanted.
Traveling east against the sun, moving back in time. Maybe I will find what I seek, but the past keeps secrets. We don't talk about those things. Privacy protected. Pictures painted in a certain light. Property, polite, project the image of success. White smiles, white lies, whitewash the dirty laundry. Photoshop the ugly parts. Construct a reputation like an internet identity. Obituary, textbook family history. Euphemisms and omissions make a story hard to listen to. A culture convoluted, people lost without a home. Something's broken. The plane descends into the clouds. Shards of sunlight reaching forward. Research itself is a pilgrimage. I'm almost there. Hyman did, in fact, take the train to Phoenix. He arrived in 1927, only 15 years after Arizona became the 48th state in the Union. The white population at the time was only 400,000 in the whole state. But over the 2.5 decade time it lived there, it skyrocketed to almost 700,000. Immigrants from Europe and the East Coast flooded the desert frontier with freeways, strip malls, and fast food. Brought new borders to the land of the Apache, Tohono O'odham, and Dene. Hyman lived in a small house all by himself. He didn't have many friends, and none of his family was close by. He was alone almost all the time. The first thing he did when he woke up in the morning was get on the phone and call his broker to check on his stocks. And then he said the traditional Jewish morning prayers. Even though he had made a lot of money in real estate, Hyman lived in near poverty, eating simple soups, wearing the same old clothes, keeping to himself. But he had a reputation in the Phoenix community. If you were in trouble, Hyman would help you out. He was super generous with everyone, including the family of a little girl who was really sick, paying for her medicine and private tutoring. When he died at the age of 85, he left most of his money to charities. And specifically in his will, he designated $300 to be given to a Kadisha, a poor Jewish man, to pray for his soul. I guess he was worried no one in the family would follow the traditional Jewish rites of mourning. No one would say the Kaddish for him. No one would remember. Yitgadal, V'yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma V'yura, V'yura Pei, V'chayarom, V'chayadon, My brother Ryan and I fly into Kiev, Ukraine, and take an all-night train into Belarus. As the sun rises over blocky gray buildings, we pull into the station of Minsk and greet our new friends, Sveta and Nadja. They're both about my age and work together at the Belarus Free Theater, an underground theater company officially considered an enemy of the state. Sveta has short, blonde, spiky hair and speaks great English. Nadia's hair is longer, straighter, and brown, and though she's shy at first, her English is also really good. They take us to a small cafe downtown for a cup of tea and a crash course on the local politics. When I first heard of Belarus, I thought it was based on the Latin. Bella, beautiful, Rus, Russia. But it's not beautiful Russia. It's white Russia. Bella means white in Slavic languages, and Ashkenazi Jews weren't white back then. Dubbed the last dictatorship in Europe, Belarus hasn't had a free democratic election since 1994. Wedged in the heart of Eastern Europe between Poland and Russia, the state controls most of the media and all of the politics. They don't tolerate radical liberties like freedom of the press or the right to assemble. People still get dragged off the streets by the KGB. In other words, a great place to visit. Lubcha is about a 2.5-hour drive southwest of Minsk. Sveta and Nadia offer not only to drive us there in their car, but to help translate and organize everything. They're like our guardian angels. They make the whole trip possible. Between my brother and I, we speak like 4 words of Russian, and we could be completely lost without them. We pack all our stuff and ourselves into a small Italian car and hit the road. On the way out of town, we stopped to get a last-minute travel necessity. A box of Belarusian chocolate bars filled with vodka. Booyah! This is it! We're finally going to Lubcha. I'm so excited, I keep making like bad pictures of random buildings in the backseat of the car. About halfway there, we take a side road and pull over next to an open field. So you have to leave some music on. We all get out to stretch our legs, and the music just kind of carries us away. Lubcha is about a 2-hour drive southwest of Minsk. It's a small village at the very end of the road, next to the Nalibaki forest and the Niemen River. We park on the town square and slice of bread, turkey, and cheese for lunch. There's hardly anyone here. Walking around, we only see a few people and a couple cars. The houses are painted in surprisingly bright colors, though most of them are small and weathered, surrounded by a picket fence and garden. A man rides by in a horse-drawn wagon. It's made out of rough boards, but fitted with modern car tires. After an hour or so of wandering around, we come to the edge of town. At the intersection of 2 dusty roads, past a series of old wooden houses that are slowly falling apart, there's an unmarked Jewish cemetery. But the graves, they're gone. An old man in a blue raincoat walks by. Nadia, will you ask him? Find out what happened? They talk in Russian for several minutes. Then she translates. After the war, all the Jews were gone. People stole gravestones to make buildings. And those houses there are built on parts of the cemetery. This is where Hyman's parents are buried. This is where generations of Lubcha Jews are buried, stretching back at least 300 years. The only indication of Jewish life is a small memorial for the 1,500 Jews that were murdered here during the Holocaust. Before the war, Lubcha was 65% Jewish. Today, not a single Jew remains. The Nazis lined people up and shoved them over and over again. The entire community, including 38 members of my family, 24 of whom were children. I placed a small stone on the memorial. My brother and I stand in silence. The children the Nazis killed, some of them would still be alive, would still be living here in Lubcha. They would have welcomed us home. Long lost family. They would have invited us into their houses and fed us a Sabbath meal, taken us to the synagogue to sing and pray with them, walked with us along the river. What is a place without its people? What is a home full of empty chairs? Family, Hyman, we're here. I'm here. I came back to say thank you for my life, to show you how much I love you. I want you to know some of us survived. They didn't kill all of us. We're still here, raising our kids, working hard, trying to be good people in this crazy world. With all the love and light in our hearts, we remember you. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. V'yalmad yivorach yirutei, v'yamlik machutei, v'hayahon u'v'yom echon u'v'chayeh v'kol beit Yisrael, v'gala u'v'zman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shlamei rabbah
V'chaim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitparar v'yitramam v'yitnasei v'yitalal v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei d'kulasha bereku v'irchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nehimata da'amiram v'yama v'yamru Amen. Yahei shlama rabamin shemayim v'chaim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'asei shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. I get back to Oakland, I find a package for me waiting from my great aunt in Arizona. It's Hyman's original certificate of citizenship, dated 1898. This document was the turning point, the magic piece of paper that legalized my family's life in this country. The moment we stopped being refugees and became citizens. The certificate is in pretty bad shape. Crumpled and covered with smudge marks. It's starting to tear around the fold lines. Someone had actually glued it to a brown paper bag years ago to keep it from falling apart. I send it to an art conservationist to be restored. They actually steam clean it and then mount it on a super thin Japanese mulberry paper to keep it in good condition. In the upper left-hand corner, it says, in fancy writing underneath a picture of the Los Angeles County Courthouse, it says, "Be it remembered." Hyman hasn't talked to me since the wedding. I asked him about the Mexican family, no response. I asked him about his family on the plane, nothing. I tried to talk to him in Lupia. It feels like every time I figure something out, what I'm looking for slips a little farther away, and I'm not even sure exactly what I'm looking for. Something's still missing. I fly back to Phoenix and catch a cab into town. 9 a.m. and it's already hot. Driving past fast food spots and strip malls, the wide streets seem to shimmer in the sun. The taxi drops me off in front of a large tan building next to a big sign that says, Kivel Campus of Care. Before he died, Hyman designated in his will $100,000 to build a nursing home for homeless Jewish elders. After World War II, thousands of older Jews immigrated to the United States, and didn't have any family to look after them. The Kimmel Nursing Home opened its doors in 1958, and today it's still 100% low-income housing and still serves kosher meals. Yo, it's a trip to see my name all over the place, my family name. They even got it on the sides of their vans. The director of the center gives me a tour, shows me the assisted living units and the memory center. I see a young Latino man mowing the lawn in the courtyard. Seeing Hyman's name all over the place and knowing this is part of his legacy, I keep peeking around corners and somehow expect him to be here. Back at the lobby, I sit down to take a few notes. I glance at the coffee table covered with newspapers and my eyes catch on today's headlines.
Latino population skyrockets in Arizona. USA Today.
Immigrants overrun our city, the Phoenix Star.
Illegal aliens caught in ICE raid. The Arizona Republic.
Coming home late one night from the factory, I hear the sound of the dog barking and marching footsteps. The feds, an ICE raid. My apartment is only a few blocks away, so I start running. My heart is hammering in my chest. My hands are trembling. I hear the echo of conversations down the Kimmel campus hallway. The buzz of the air conditioner, the fluorescent lights flickering, the lawnmower outside. All of a sudden I feel a chill and a presence. You learned my name and our story. Have you felt the ruach? I think so. But the raid? How is this okay? Okay! It is not okay. But what can we do? You are okay. We are okay. It's not just about us anymore. It's not just about Jews. We can't just be silent. Nicht allein. This does not concern us. You went on a great journey. All the way to Lupcha and back again. You said the Kaddish for our family. Baruch Hashem. You will remember us and share our stories. This is a mitzvah. Thank you. Thank you. This has been more than I could have ever imagined, and I'm so grateful. You came to this country to make a better life, and you did for us, but these raids are happening to people every day. I know you learned the Kaddish, but do you know what it means? V'amlech machseh v'chayachonu v'yomachonu v'hayeh kol beit Yisrael v'agalau v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. May someday soon we live under God's sovereignty. Yes, but what does that mean? The world is not perfect. Maybe it's broken. But we pray that life will get better. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yemru Amen. May the one who makes peace above bring peace to us down here on earth. It's a prayer of hope, a prayer of peace, but it's for everyone. Yisrael has to mean everyone now, not just the Jews, everyone. Perhaps only God knows. Soll der Gott wünschen und sollst haben Naches von der Kinder.
offer this prayer. A fragment of possibility in a broken world. A prayer of hope, a prayer of peace. For my ancestors, the Kaveleviches and the Cohens, the Rosens and the Edelsteins, and all of the Jews of Lubsha, I offer this prayer. For the desert martyrs, the restless souls who didn't survive the crossing, the unclaimed bones in the Sonoran sand, I offer this prayer. For the victims of ICE and the Border Patrol, murdered in cold blood, beaten or shot or tasered to death, I offer this prayer. For Carlos Ronaldo La Madrid Guerrero, Luis Rodriguez, Juan Mendez, Jorge Solis Palma, Victor Santillan de la Cruz, Ramses Baran Torres, Alex Martinez, Gerardo Rico Lozano, Juan Pablo Santillan, Jose Alfredo Llanes Reyes, Victoria Muñiz Chachiquin, Sergio Adrian Hernandez Huereca, Byron Neftali Sosa Orellana, Jose Antonio Elena, Anastasio Hernandez Rojas. I offer this prayer. Please, speak the names of anyone you would like to remember. You are not forgotten. As long as we remember your names, as long as we fight for the lives of your families, as long as we do not deny our interdependence, your death will not be worthless. We honor your life and give thanks for your presence in ours. May you rest in power and in peace. With all the love and light in our hearts, we remember you. I am not a rabbi. This is not a synagogue. I do not speak Hebrew, and this is not kosher. But I am the Louis legacy of a long lineage of survivors. I'm a fourth generation Jewish American, great-great-grandson of an immigrant, descendant of a diasporic people well versed in wandering through deserts. I am a poet, remembering where I come from, gathering shards of rice, learning to pray in a new language. I am Oakland-born, hip-hop bred, and reading a multicultural remix of a white boy, practicing reverse assimilation. I had to go back to move forward, follow tradition, and find my own way. My family story is survival. Poverty, Fromm, and genocide. My family bought services to continents, sewed and sweatshops 16 hours a day, worked and saved and studied so that I can stand here before you. And I will not render their sacrifice worthless by silently watching people suffer the same oppression they survived. My family's story is exploitation. The second they stepped onto this American soil, they entered a racialized system of colonization, built on stolen land, built on slave labor. My family built businesses, ran stores, earned and invested in property, so that I can stand here before you. And I will not render their success worthless by silently watching people suffer the same oppression they perpetuate. I am a fourth generation Jewish American, great-great-grandson of an immigrant, and now I understand what it means
justice. I will not deny my humanity or silence. I might have suffered a long, slow struggle for justice, but I will not suffer amnesia. This is not the end, it's not over. We look back to me to see forward, feeling treason of beautiful orchard. We even deep in a wonderful culture. We redefine a new world culture. Love and justice, a little bit closer. Build the bridges, break down the borders. Raise our children to stand on our shoulders. We're all made from the spark of light. Divine shine in the darkest night. My heart stretches, the heart is all precious. Every one of us is called to fight. It's time that we wake up and start to remember. We are the ones that can gather the embers. Build a new fire to melt all the ice. Share all the stories that reignites. Dance in the flavors and reaches new heights. Work with each other, protect human rights. Repairing and healing the vessels unite. Illuminate the world with our sparks of light. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Two quick things. I have a table in the back with some merchandise, some books, and DVDs, and check that out. I also have a mailing list if you're interested in events. And there's free stickers, so grab a sticker on your way out. If you want to hang for like 5-ish minutes, we can have a conversation. I would love to answer a question, or if you want to share a comment, we can chop it up too. And yeah. Does that sound good? Yeah. Yeah? Okay. Aaron's got the mic?
Yes, I do.
So yeah, we can just open it up. It'll just be a couple minutes if you can stay. And it's all good if you need to leave and get about your day. Any questions, comments, reflections after watching Amnesia?
Wow.
Is this your actual life story or family history?
Yeah, so it's all autobiographical and true. This is all like real people, real places, etc., etc.
Have you found out any history behind the rest of your family story?
Yeah, you know, family history is one of those things that's like a never-ending labyrinth, right? And so, you know, you follow one ancestor, you know, a grandparent or great-grandparent down this way, and then, you know, you can go over here, and there's so much, right? And it's kind of literally unending. So I've done a bunch of family history research. My first play, Freeland, looks at a family story on my mother's side of the family. And, you know, depending on different depths of digging, I've gone and learned more about some than others, but, you know, it's kind of an ongoing process.
How long has it taken you to perfect Amnesia as a performance?
So I first started kind of germinating the ideas in 2010 when Arizona passed SB 1070, and it was like the super reactionary state law that basically turned every cop on the street into a border patrol. And it legalized racial profiling. All they needed to do was see someone and say, in their mind, that they looked suspicious. In other words, they had brown skin, looked Latino, etc. And that gave them legal justification to pull them over and demand to see their papers, right? They're like ID. So in that moment, in 2010, Arizona became kind of ground zero for the immigration debate in this country.
And everyone was talking about immigration in Arizona, immigration, and I was like, huh, you know, I got all this family in Arizona. We keep going back there, and like, they were immigrants, right? But no one is talking about immigrants who look like me. And what's up with that? So I started, you know, kind of thinking about it. I started really writing in like 2012, and then it took about 1.5 years, 2 years to create, and we premiered it. The play was commissioned by La Peña Cultural Center in Berkeley, California, and we premiered it there in May 2014, last year. So it was definitely, it's a long journey. I had to like do some of the things. You know, it's funny, I started writing a play, and then I'm like, oh, I better go to Arizona, and then I should probably go to Lucia so I can write it in the play. You know, my life is like, you know, my art and my life are all like very connected. Since you asked me about the making of the play, I have to give Lila Sklar, who played violin in all the music that you heard and composed all of it. It's all 100% original music, besides like Celebrate. And Pachelbel's Canon. But everything else is totally original music that she composed. We worked together on the script and the music. So that was a big part of making it. And we're actually in the studio now recording an album for all of this music. It should be due out early next year. Yes, please.
So was it just your cousin's wedding that triggered this whole search for family history, or was there anything before or after that also really pushed you to fly across the country?
Yeah, I mean, part of it was SB 1070 passing in Arizona. Part of it was that crazy experience in Phoenix. I'm like, ice. They have an ice sculpture. Like this, that was all real. I didn't make any of that up, right? So the ice, you know, ICE. For those of you who don't know, it stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, right? So they partner with Border Patrol. Border Patrol works the borders. ICE works internal 100 miles in from the U.S. border. So in Phoenix, it's ICE agents who do these raids. So there we are at this like fancy wedding with ICE in the desert, while like down the street, literally, like ICE agents are raiding Latino communities and arresting them and throwing them into jail for the only crime of having the wrong paperwork, right? Like that's the only crime. And so that juxtaposition was compelling for me, and I started writing about it. Yeah, we can take just maybe 1 or 2 more.
Right here.
Yes, please.
Ariel, buenas tardes, good evening, bro. Thank you for the invitation, and congratulations for an awesome piece. Brought the crew out, we're all really pumped up.
Appreciate the movement, the música. I closed my eyes, I was transported many times with you, and I salute you, your heart and your lineage, your familia. And I appreciate the last question and how you kind of spoke to SB 1070, a lot of those kind of racist policies in that culture, and there's something so special about the way your play, your work kind of helps bridge, you know, some of the struggles, while they're different, but to kind of create more solidarity, more compassion, more unity. And I'm curious, like, what some of your hopes or your wishes are, you know, for diverse audiences as you are exposing them to these issues and to today's issues around immigration. If you could speak to that.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. You know, part of my intention with this whole play is to roll back kind of the magic veil of the American dream and all the kind of mythology and propaganda and the racism, really, the white supremacy that, like, you know, white folks around the country talk about this country like it's ours, right? Like folks didn't steal this land from various nations and Native American tribes and indigenous communities. Like folks didn't immigrate here. So there's this incredible kind of hypocrisy, right? For like white folks in Arizona to tell Latino folks to go home, right? Or speak English. So part of what I want to do is add my story and my perspective as a descendant of immigrants, as a person who is white and American in this world today, to really shift the conversation, the discourse, right? If you listen to Fox News, God forbid, or like any of the major networks, you know, the way that they're framing immigration, there is incredible dishonesty, right? They're not acknowledging that this is a nation built on stolen Native American land and all of the tribes. They're not acknowledging that white folks were immigrants, right? And all of the violence and the genocide and the cultural annihilation, all of those things are a part of the silences that are in that national conversation. So my humble hope is that Amnesia can be kind of a contribution towards pushing that conversation in the right direction. There is a tremendous amount of work that's happening, like right now here in the Bay Area. Mujeres Unidas y Activas is right here in San Francisco. They do grassroots organizing with mostly women. There's amazing work happening organizing domestic workers. There's really, really important issues and campaigns that are happening right now in San Francisco, around the Bay, and of course around the country, where folks are trying to help people who are locked up. I mean, families are being separated. Folks are getting sent off the border. It's the whole private prison system, right? A lot of folks are actually making a profit off of this because all the folks who make those Border Patrol cars and the guns and the satellites and the drones and all those folks who are making a profit off the private prisons that house undocumented immigrants, right? So when someone gets picked up off the street, most of the time they go to a privately contracted prison, right? So there's a lot of places for advocacy, and my part of my goal is to kind of say, wake up, everybody! This is not just a Latino issue. This is not just a Southwest issue. This is about the fundamental nation that we live in. And I think if we look at our own stories long enough, deep enough, we will find places of connection. We will find, examples of solidarity. And if we just open our hearts to the humanity of the people who are caught up in the system, we will be compelled to action. So, thank you all. One last comment,
yes.
and then we'll close.
I'm Rafael Jesus Gonzalez, and I would just like to commend you for your heart and your heart, and to remind us all that we all are immigrants. Every one of us is an immigrant. Migration is part of the human race, and you can go further and further and further back, and we're all immigrants from the mother continent of Africa. Some of us have just grown paler from lack of sun in the northern climes, and others of us have grown darker when we near the equator and we get more of the holy sun. But let us all remember that we are all immigrants, and that in a globalized earth, there is no room for frontiers. And the only frontiers that we have to conquer is that in our consciousness and in our hearts, for that is where the revolution is going to come from. And a revolution is what we need. And a revolution is what we better commit ourselves to at this moment of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll be hanging out by my table. Come say hi, grab a sticker, sign up on the email list. Have a beautiful night. Thank you.